What's going on, YouTube? Tom here, and this has been a long week. Before I forget, there we go. Yeah, I did that. Yes, I did that intentionally. Anyway, just got done with the gun range. It's been a long week. Had one of those exams this morning where the rest of the day your head is just, it hurts. Can't even think of words to describe it. And then, so I figured, well, I got some time. I wanted to go to the range, blow off a little steam, and then also try out that new back strap, which I'll put a link in the video above here. These people gonna let me in, barely. Love this range, but I hate getting out of this range. But anyway, so I've tested out the back strap. You all want how many questions, let me know. I'll let you know how that performed. It was an experience. So anyway, then I said, all right, let's make another little video here while we got the rest of the afternoon off. I was gonna make a product review outside. I've actually been planning on it for almost a week. I was gonna do it today, and it was just too hot to do it. My thermometer right here on my mirror is saying 100 degrees, and God, that's almost an understatement. It feels hotter, probably. So anyway, let's talk about some of these things when we go to buy a car. Some of y'all might know if you're a fan of Ford, Dodge, Chevy, really anyone now. And that is, when you go to buy a car that's in limited production and fairly high demand, you pay a little bit of a dealer markup, and we all hate it. Everybody knows it, and everybody hates it. As you say to yourself, why am I paying a markup on that? Simple fact is, it's supply and demand. There's a limited supply and a pretty high demand, and therefore the equilibrium price is driven up. Now, simple macroeconomics. I took this freshman year of college, and so I'm familiar with the supply and demand curve. It's one of those things where you think it's easy enough, and the reality is it's a little bit more complicated than you might think. But it's a thing. Obviously, when you start talking about the price, everyone talks about, let's take for example the Shelby GT350. Car everyone's pretty much familiar with. It's kind of a fan favorite. Everybody loves them. The big problem with them right now is the markup, and it's a pretty high markup on the car. Ford's MSRP for the regular Shelby GT350 right now is roughly 55 to 60 grand, and the MSRP on the R model is just under 70. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, here's the reality of that price. And I made another video talking about why MSRP isn't the price you pay. I'll put another link to that up above. But let's talk about markups for a second, because the Shelby, that's the reality of what you're paying with it. Because you find me the regular Shelby, I bet you they will not be any less than 70, and find me an R. I found one the other day for 90, and that was the cheapest one I could find. They're typically around 100. Simply put, the dealers see this, there's demand, everybody wants one, so they start putting these price markups on it. And the dealer, and some people say, well, it's just the dealer trying to make a quick buck. Or is it? Obviously, it's a low production car. Are they making that many Shelbys? No. So obviously, if you put a little bit of a higher price on it, suddenly people who are thinking about it will stop and say, it's a little bit pricey. You might take a step back and you might say, well, it's not worth that. Obviously, you're not going to get it. But for everyone who says, oh, I'm not paying the markup, there's someone who will say, damn, I wish I didn't have to pay that markup when I bought the car. So it's always a bit of a trade-off. And now, obviously, if Ford wanted to, they would make it normal production. They would make a boatload of the cars. They have full potential to, and they're going to do that on the new Mustang, where the 2018, they're just going to make a million of the things. It's pretty obvious. They can make it, they can do it. Everyone's going to want one. There's almost no need for a markup. But when we start talking about the Shelby, they're going to keep it in low production. But as I said, supply and demand. Is that always a bad thing? Obviously, people are rushing to get these cars, or at least some people. At least they want you to think that. So if anything, they're keeping some of the riffraff out. Obviously, if you're serious about it, you will pay that markup. Now, That's what it is, but the reality is everyone hates that. Now, let's talk about what some companies are doing to combat that, because obviously most people do view this, even Ford themselves. Well, actually, I don't know about Ford, but some car companies are now viewing that as, oh, let's make a quick buck off the car. Let's say, oh, here's some new car coming out, people are going to want it, let's make some quick bucks on it. So, let's talk about Dodge for a second. My opinion aside of the Demon, I still think it's overrated, but more on that in another video. If you look at the Demon, Dodge has decided to say, well, obviously the dealer is going to want to mark it up. And at one point, there was some information and some rumors going around that Dodge was going to make it not necessarily through the dealer. Dodge was just going to make it through Dodge itself. And so as some of you all might know, the Dodge Demon is $80,000. That's the MSRP of the car. 80 grand. Alright, well, of course, it was pretty obvious that was, as soon as it came out, the dealers were probably all talking amongst themselves of, now how much should we make that? Now, in terms of a markup. Now, 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, because obviously they're only going to make 3,000 of them in America. 300 for Canada, which many people like to say. I got my facts straight on that. So obviously the question is, well, how many? How many people are going to want one, and how much are they willing to pay? So Dodge, realizing this, it was going to be a thing that they were going to try to mark it up, Dodge stepped in and decided to say, no. If the dealer charges a markup and they have to report that back to Dodge, then Dodge would actually delay the production of it. They would actually make that particular dealer wait for the car. It's pretty simple what that was for. The idea is, if a dealer's going to overcharge, obviously, not only that would they lose the business because there's probably one cheaper, then on top of that, if you don't have to wait, why would you wait? If I can pay less and not have to wait, I would. Now, of course, there's going to be some shadiness going on. There's a couple dealers I've heard of where it's like, yeah, the owner of the dealer is just going to keep the car, because not every dealer even qualifies, which makes sense. It's like, okay, cool. I mean, I was at the Toyota dealer. Y'all remember my video of the TRD Pro. I heard it was a rumor of that, like, oh yeah, someone works at the dealership is probably going to end up being the one that buys the truck. And I don't know who ultimately bought it. I'd love to find out. But it was one of those things like, yeah, it is a little shady. And of course, I've heard a couple of instances of the dealer just saying, well, you just pay us the 10 grand under the table. We won't report that to Dodge. And of course, immediately, if some dealer said that to me, I'd be like, no, I'm going to go somewhere else for the car. That's immediately what I would do, but that's me. So anyway, dealer markups. And of course, Porsche is another big one that's trying to stop that with the various versions of the 911 they come out with. The GT2 being the newest one, where they're or GT3 I should say, where they're doing this thing where they're going to blacklist dealers for trying to overcharge it for the car, and they're going to blacklist some owners for trying to flip the cars, which makes sense because people look at the car and they see money. People don't see a car that's to be enjoyed, which annoys some people, including Porsche themselves. Now, obviously, is that always going to be a thing? No, there's some people who are still going to try to flip the cars, and we know that's a thing. The Ford, they haven't done anything to combat their dealer markups, which kind of sucks because I, for one, would love to buy a Shelby if I had more money, but obviously I don't have the 70 to 100 grand lying around, and usually the Mustang, it's weird for me because the Mustangs are usually one of the most heavily discounted cars out there on the market. So anyway, let me know what you all think below. What's your opinion on dealer markups? Are they the necessary evil that could be in terms of an economic standpoint, or do you really think that they are just a dealer trying to make a quick buck? Let me know in the comments below what you all think. If you're stopping in for the first time, please subscribe. I would love to grow my channel. And if you like this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. Take care. Have a great day.